Yesterday, the former President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, appeared before a judge in New York. His trial, being accused of very serious fraudulent business practices, began in right earnest yesterday. True to character, Trump, before he entered the court, right in the precincts of the court, issued a frontal attack. Both the district attorney and the judge, both of them happened to be Afro-Americans. He tried to give it, and I think to some extent he succeeded in doing so. He tried to impart a racist twist to the trial. He insinuated that there is a racial conspiracy against him, and the present litigation is an offshoot of that anti-Trump racial conspiracy. I don't know if anyone has attempted a psychological study of Donald Trump. Wherever he looks, he sees only conspiracies. Elections full of conspiracies. Judicial process full of controversies. Anything and everything full of conspiracies. Now, this conspiracy psychology characterizes a certain type of people situated in a certain socio-economic sector. On that, I may comment in due course, if not in this video, in the subsequent video. What I want to focus on as far as the present session is concerned is this very psychology of defiance. Obviously, Donald Trump was putting up a show to appeal to his constituency, which is predominantly white, supremacist, racial voters. Even the infamous January 6th event in the Capitol, which tried to subvert the verdict of the people through the use of brute force, which mercifully failed, is predicated on the strong feelings that are easily evoked by invoking white supremacist ideas and insinuations. Be that as it may, let's focus for a little while on what works behind this very defined posture that Donald Trump adopted yesterday in the precincts of the court in New York. I was, as an Indian, I was quite astonished by the virulence of his attack, both on the district attorney and the honorable judge. Now, there is a reason why this happens, and that is what's important for us. The local particulars of the case may not be immediately relevant to us, though there is an ultimate relevance. But the essential pattern of defiance of the rule of law is certainly applicable to us, relevant to us, and relevant to anybody, anywhere in the world. Now, what enables Donald Trump to adopt this posture of defiance is his identity, his dual identity, first as the former President of the United States, which invests him with a certain degree of political charisma and popular appeal. Second, his identity as a very prosperous or successful businessman, a man of business acumen. Now, this is not often said in public, but I think it needs to be recognized clearly and then mentioned in public. That the rich and the powerful, the socio-economic political elite in every society assumes it as a matter of right to be above the law of the land. Whether you like it or not, that's how it is. That's why we have this old proverb. It says that if a mosquito falls into a cobweb, it will be caught. What happens if a lizard falls into it? The cobweb will break. So, the authority of law, the efficacy of the law, the integrity and the inviolability of the justice delivery system depends very substantially on the economic status and the power quotient of the accused. We must understand that judges are also human beings. Every system is worked by human beings, and human beings are nurtured within a society by being accultured in that society. It acquires the values, norms, the perceptions, the outlook, the worldview of the society concerned. Therefore, we must realistically expect social trends to find its way eventually into the court of law. Though, of course, in theory, it is insisted that the practice of law is blind to all forms of distinctions and discriminations, and therefore all are treated equally in the eye of the law. This is the theory, it is never the practice. I don't think there is any society in the world where in all respects this principle applies. Judges are human, they are vulnerable to be influenced, and depending on the moral stature of the society, the overall integrity of the society, the procurability of a judge may vary from 0 to 10. That's all. You can't expect an honest, an uncompromisingly honest judge in a society that functions largely by corruption. So we must be realistic about the expectations that may be enjoined on the justice delivery system in any society. But let us focus on this one particular idea, that is, law, as Count Leo Tolstoy said, and he was the one who alerted me to this wider reality, law is enunciated or formulated or created by the elite in every society. You don't have a single country, a single society in the world where the poor in that society or country plays any role whatsoever in the legislation of the laws of the land. All laws are legislated or formulated or made by the rich, the powerful, the elite. And therefore, argues Count Leo Tolstoy, who himself was an aristocrat of some substance, he says that law is by nature biased in favor of the elite. Laws are made for the sake of protecting and enlarging the privileges, the advantage of the elite. It's very, very rarely that laws are made for the sake of the poor. And even in the practice of such skewed laws, socially, economically skewed laws, there's a further bias, the bias in the practitioners of the system, both of the advocates and the judges. Now, for example, there is a saying in Malayalam, every Malayali knows this, and I'll use the English version. If you have advocate Malur, the name of a famous criminal lawyer in Kerala, if you have advocate Malur on your side and can afford to pay 1,000 rupees. Obviously, this adage or this dictum was formulated many years ago when 1,000 rupees meant a lot. So, if you have advocate Malur on your side and can afford to pay him a fee of 1,000 rupees, you can get away with murder. Now, this may seem an exaggeration, but this is the reality. Why are advocates paid astronomical amounts? There are advocates in this country who will charge you 15 lakhs per appearance, even if that appearance is only for 5 minutes. Per appearance, they are paid 15 lakhs. Some are paid 20 lakhs. Some are actually paid a percentage of the amount litigated upon. For example, there is a particular case, I will not give you the details, involving a certain, shall we say, a service provider company, and a very distinguished, top-notch lawyer argued the case. The total value of that litigation, the amount that was litigated upon was about 3,600 crores. And the lawyer was paid 10% of that. So how much did he make from a single case? 360 crores from a single case. Why are advocates paid such unearthly, outlandish, staggering amounts? Because they make all the difference in the world. That's called courtcraft. That's called juridical genius, and you have to pay for it. Can you, as an ordinary man, afford to hire a competent lawyer? Goodness gracious me, no. Then how do you get justice from the system? So, without even making any declaration, in the very process of adjudicating cases, in the way the whole system is structured, manufactured, maintained, there is an inherent bias towards the rich, towards the economically powerful, and also towards the politically powerful. Therefore, the practice of law is not a sterile case of clinical equality and judges are so pure and uninfluenced or beyond the reach of other extrajudicial considerations, that they will treat the poor and the rich, the Prime Minister and the postman alike. All this is theory. It doesn't work like that. I have never, in my lifetime, I have not seen it work like that. I'm not blaming anyone in particular. I'm not blaming the judicial system. I'm only saying that this is the reality of the world. And that reality is rooted in our own nature. Now, for example, as a Democrat, I'm supposed to treat everyone equally, right? Liberty, equality, fraternity. What are the 4 foundational values of the Indian Constitution as stated in the preamble to the Constitution? It's very interesting and therefore it's worthwhile to remember them. Justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. It's easy to remember because what you have to do is just remember justice. Then remember the slogan of the French Revolution. So if you add justice to the slogan of the French Revolution, you get the foundational values of the Indian Constitution stated in the preamble. So I repeat, justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, right? Now, do you really believe that these 4 values will be strictly adhered to by the honorable individuals who operate the system? Do you believe that the society in which they are living, the society in which they were born, groomed, raised, and turned into judges, values these 4 foundational principles? Not at all. None of us individually. For example, if the Prime Minister is standing there and somewhere near him, maybe at a distance of 100 feet, an ordinary man, a bank clerk or a school teacher is standing. When I look at both of them, what are the emotions and feelings that I would experience? I would feel overawed by the Prime Minister, and I would simply neglect. I wouldn't even recognize, I wouldn't even feel the presence of the school teacher or the postman or what have you. So there is tremendous inequality. And to say that I will treat the Prime Minister and the primary school teacher the same manner is bunkum. It cannot happen. So let's be realistic about it. Or as they say in colloquial language, let's get real. Let's get real. Okay? Now we're going to get real. So, Trump is an emblem. He's not an individual. He's an emblem. He's a symbol. Symbol of what? Symbol of the attitude of the rich and the powerful to the values and ideals that ordinary society pays homage to or recognizes as important and necessary. To the members of the elite class, these values and ideals are a nuisance, and they treat these values and ideals with contempt. The degree of contempt that a person exhibits in public would vary from person to person within the socio-economic group. Trump, of course, strikes us in a particular way because he is completely uninhibited in giving public expression to the contempt that members of this elite socio-economic political group entertain towards the binding obligations on ordinary citizens. Members of this group, members of this strata of society, the top, the cream, they consider themselves above these norms, requirements, standards, obligations, restrictions. This is something that is not stated in public, but it's high time that members of the public, ordinary human beings, become aware of this. Now, we are often used to hearing that there's a lot of hypocrisy in religion, and I myself talk about it often. But something that I have not spoken enough about is a hypocrisy in the secular world. Wherever there are human beings, there will be hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is part of being human, unfortunately. It's there with us from the very beginning of our journey in this world. So there is a large amount of hypocrisy in the secular world. There is at least as much hypocrisy in the secular world as there is in the religious world, because human beings cannot operate in public without hypocrisy. There will always be a gap, a chasm between what is and what appears to be. Why? Because all of us have endorsed voluntarily and readily the creation of an entire system based not on truth but on appearances. Human beings only want appearances. They only want shows. Therefore, clever demagogues feed the multitudes, the masses, that are apt to be foolish and are glad to be fooled. They feed the masses with eye-popping public shows and spectacles, gigantic emblems of collective pride. For example, the statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and I am someone who respects Vallabhbhai Patel, on which 3,000 crores of rupees was spent, the tallest statue in Asia. Now, do you think, and that's named the Statue of Unity, do you think that the erection of a statue will promote unity in this country? Are you that foolish? The idea is not to promote unity. The idea is to provide something impressive. Because human beings, given their weaknesses, their vulnerability to manipulation, they are easily impressed with these spectacles. Because from birth onwards, they are nurtured in a system of appearances where there is really no value for truth. Not even 1% of the population of a country will value truth. Truth for its own sake. That is to say, 99.99% of the people in a society will resort to falsehood if that promotes their advantage and secures their gain. This is a reality. And there is no difference between, rich and poor, the saints and the non-saints, the priest and the laity, educated, uneducated, right? Cultured, uncultured, no difference. In this respect, all are absolutely the same. We are all quite eager to cut the corners. I served as the principal of a college in Delhi. I can tell you how members of every segment of the society, from the top to the bottom, will come and pressurize you to cut the corners in order to advantage them. Everybody expects a favor to be extended to them. Everybody, including members of the judiciary. That's my experience. You imagine from the very top to the bottom, I have found the same thing. But when it comes to, there's a difference between the very top and all below them. When members of the apex section of the society comes, they expect to be obeyed. They will not take no for an answer. Why? Because they have internalized this idea that their will must be obeyed by everyone. Their writ must run. That is to say, the norms and conditions and requirements that are applicable to others should not apply to them. They should be completely above these norms. For example, if I have a particular well-defined norm for admitting students to St. Stephen's College based on merit, members of this very exalted elite segment of the society would come and talk to me as though these rules, these requirements do not apply to them. They say, you find a way, our child must study here. And I would tell them, look, for that you have to go somewhere else. This is not the place where you can talk like that. And gradually this was understood, so members of this segment of the society came to the conclusion that I was their caste enemy. They stopped visiting me and they started conspiring against me to bring about my downfall. And I was told that I would be ousted from St. Stephen's College in no time. But God was my defender. When I was not given 3 months to continue in office as the principal of the college, so I completed 9 years and left with dignity. So I am not boasting, this is a reality. So the point I am making is that while it is very exciting, inspiring theory that in a democracy all are treated equal in the eye of the law, the actual reality on the ground is that the judicial system itself is quite vulnerable to the discriminations and inequalities that thrive in the wider society. And everything in the wider society is actually done on the basis of these discriminations, stratifications, hierarchies, inequalities. There's absolutely no doubt about it. So it is this reality that I find embodied in Donald Trump. Without his knowing it, even though Donald Trump is quite happy to tell as many lies as you want, the paradox of being Donald Trump is that he reveals the truth of this social class. This is the truth. Donald Trump, in being as unprincipled, as ruthless, as belligerent, offensive, threatening as he is in public, is actually living out the truth of the socio-economic elite class to which he belongs, or to which he thinks he belongs. Therefore, this is an eye-opener. That's why I thought I would spend a little time on Donald Trump. Now, if this is understood, that is in relation to law. Now, what about ethics? Ethics. Same with ethics also. In every society, members of this very class deem themselves exempted from all the requirements of ethical behavior, moral code, or moral principles, or to use the words of Adam Smith, moral sentiments. Moral sentiments. Now, again, it was Tolstoy who alerted me to this. Tolstoy writes very clearly that the aristocratic class in the Russia of his days was morally so depraved that it was difficult to write about what they do in public. Though, if you read the writings of Tolstoy, some of it comes out. Especially if you read his biographical material, autobiographical material, My Confession, for example, Confession, that is his confession, not mine. Then his work titled Youth, you will see the growing, shall I say, discomfort, disquietude that Tolstoy experienced about the moral degradation of the aristocratic class to which he belongs, and he gets so disgusted with it. Now, in our context, from time immemorial, at least for as long as I can remember, we exempted those working in the field of cinema from the demands of the moral code that apply to others. Now, everybody knew, and this is of course now very openly talked about, that morality is not a concern in the world of films, in filmdom, whether it is Bollywood, Collywood, Mollywood, or whatever. And various scandals are coming to light one after. But everybody knew that this was not a rarity. Everybody knew this was the case. An ordinary prostitute would be despised, but a film actress with a similar inclination, in order to promote her career, acting career, was respected, valued. Now, we had a bishop of the Orthodox Church coming out in the open and saying that for 17 years he was dreaming of seeing a particular film actress face to face. For 17 years he was dreaming of, and this is not hearsay, I've seen him say these words and I'm quoting his words. For 17 years he was dreaming of seeing the face of a film actress. That's the testimony of a bishop whom I know somewhat, and he has never said in his life that for 17 days he was dreaming to see the face of Jesus Christ. That's a reality, my folks. Though you will be upset when I say this, because these harsh realities go counter to the pious assumptions that we entertain, and we would rather stay with our assumptions, untested assumptions, than confront the reality, because we have never been trained to manage or deal with or cope with the demands of reality. So, it's in vain that we expect the members of the elite group, socio-economic, political elite, to abide by the moral demands of a society. Now, for example, politics. I was very close to a lady politician in Delhi, a Gandhian, and I will not mention her name because she is now no more. She told me that politics is not a domain for women with self-respect, that they have to make serious compromises in relation to their own physical integrity in order to survive in politics, and particularly in order to climb the political ladder. Now, everybody knows this, but nobody minds it. Nobody minds it. Now, take the politics of Kerala. For the last 10 years, the politics of Kerala has been dominated by two women who are absolutely nobodies. Um, why is it that a political party can be demolished with the help of a single woman? Whether it is Swapna Sundar or whatever the other, Nair. One woman is enough to rattle a political party which may have a membership of, say, 1 million people, 1.5 million people. What is the power of this one woman? It is not her power. It is a weakness, the moral weakness of the system, the political system. That's how the political system works. I have seen it with my own eyes, that a very dignified man who has made significant contributions to the public life of India would have to wait and wait and wait in order to find entry into the presence of a minister. Whereas a woman with dubious intention would just walk in while others are waiting for her. I've seen it, and I've experienced it myself. I've seen it with my own eyes. What is the passport she enjoys? What is her additional special qualification that gains her this enormous advantage? The system. That's how the system works. So please understand that whether it be in relation to the rule of law or in terms of the demands of the moral code, the socio-economic political elite are completely exempted from these requirements, or they deem themselves to be far above these requirements. These obligations, these restrictions, these obligations are meant to apply only to ordinary people, you and me. If you do what a powerful politician does, you will get into serious trouble. There will be no end to your troubles. But as far as the politician is concerned, he will become stronger for his misdeeds. And that's very obvious in recent political processes in this country. Now, if you do what Bishop ᴅᴏᴜᴜ, I'm sorry, my memory is failing. If you do what Bishop ᴅᴏᴜᴜ is alleged to have done, underline the word alleged, then whether or not you have done it, you will be damned for your life. If an ordinary priest is alleged to have done what Bishop ᴅᴏᴜᴜ is alleged to have done, he'll be finished. But ᴅᴏᴜᴜ will actually become stronger, more popular, and more respected because of his allegations, because now he is being projected as a saint because of his suffering. He was accused of this and that, he suffered, and because of his suffering, he has become a Christ-like figure. That is how the rhetoric of this elite class whitewashes everything and turns darkness into light and perversion into piety. So these are harsh realities, and many people refuse to look these realities in the face, and I'm convinced that it does them no good. It doesn't help to be naive, it doesn't help to be blind, it doesn't help to be unrelated to the reality that surrounds you. At any rate, these realities are hitting you all the time. Much rather be aware of the realities so that we can work out our strategies accordingly. And I say this because all of these issues that I've talked about figure one way or another in the teachings of Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, we have been trained to read the Bible in complete isolation from the lived realities of the world. And I plead that this has to change, and change right away. The Word of God, if it's a living document, must be read in relation to the unfolding realities of the human species. Otherwise, it is not the living word, it is a dead word, and it must be mummified. Most Christians have done that. They have the Bible, which is kept in a corner and it's taken out only for dusting purposes. Bible is taken out once in 6 months, dusted and put back, because it's a piece of crystal ornamentation and it's there. It's mummified. It's not a living document anymore. So, if it's a living faith, it must be in dialogue with the ongoing, unfolding realities of the human predicament on planet Earth. And that's a discipline I maintain. I try to understand the Word of God in light of my existential struggles, my aches and pains, my hopes and my glories, and the concrete experiences of God's mercy and justice and faithfulness in the midst of the trials and tribulations that necessarily happen as we walk along the path of righteousness for Christ's sake. So, the burden of my song in this presentation, in this video is, please realize that the world, the society is organized on the principle of inequality, not equality. I can offer you an entire reflection justifying this inequality. I can do that as well. But for the time being, please remember, the world is organized not on the basis of equality, but of inequality. If anyone tells you that everybody is equal in the eye of the law, just have a gentle smile, keep quiet, because there's no point in arguing with him. Second thing I said is that as far as the members of the elite class are concerned, they have always deemed themselves above the reach of the moral laws, moral demand or ethical sense. They live ethically a chaotic life and they are accountable to nobody, and they deem it their birthright. And therefore a writer like Nietzsche would say that the moral code is enunciated or created only to keep the ordinary people, the feeble and the weak, under control. And the same moral code will not apply to those above them, the top, the apex of the social pyramid. So that's a reality that I thought it was worthwhile to staple or flag, and I propose that you continue to research on this, reflect on this, and come to your own conclusions. So Donald Trump is not merely an individual, he is an emblem, he is a signpost, he is a clear public indication of what the top socio-economic class really believes, though unlike Donald Trump, they will not state or dramatize it so obviously in public. So good luck to all of you, and let's continue our journey together in search of the truth which alone delivers us from bondage and leads us into freedom, true freedom. Thank you.